Hello, hello, hello. 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 Hi, team. It's so nice to see everybody. Oh, I have to get closer to the microphone. Is this better? Oh, okay, I feel sorry for you all. You have to really hear what I have to say. The good news is it's on paper, so it's keeping me, in the frame here, so I don't just go on and on. Because if you'll ask my husband, John Tynes, this wonderful man right here, he says I go on and on and on. So, good evening, everyone. That's all of you. Thank you so much, and welcome to the Leaders of Democracy 2025. Liberty and justice for all. I'm Irene Tynes. I'm the president of the League of Women Voters of Colorado, and I'm so happy to welcome you all here tonight. We're here to honor bold leadership, celebrate historic wins, and recommit ourselves to protecting democracy. It's funny, I can't believe we have to actually say that, right? Gosh, I told the board not too long ago, our mission is empowering voters, empowering voters, defending democracy. And I'd say it over and over again, and I sign my things with it, and I think, well, this is awfully histrionic. Aren't we full of ourselves? No. Democracy is under threat right now, and we have some very brave people in the room that are helping us save it. The League of Women Voters of the United States was founded on February 14th, 1920 in Chicago, Illinois. Born of the women's suffrage movement, the League was organized when it became apparent that the 19th Amendment of the U.S. Constitution guaranteed voting rights to women citizens would finally be ratified. The League is nonpartisan. It neither supports nor opposes candidates for office at any level of government. At the same time, the League works to influence policy through advocacy. This evening we gather at a pivotal moment, not just for our organization, but for our nation. And we're here to honor the people and coalitions who are moving Colorado toward a future where liberty and justice truly belong to all of us. We're so grateful to be joined tonight by League members from across the state, members of the Colorado Voting Rights Act Coalition, and a host of passionate leaders, volunteers, and partners who make this work possible. I'm so pleased to see so many board members here. When I say board members, we have a state board, and I want to thank you for your support and leadership. Those of you that are board members right now, would you mind standing for us? Thank you. Wait, remain standing. Because the next thing I want to say is, if you are a past board member, please stand and accept our gratitude for the strong shoulders on which we stand today. Thank you. Isn't this a beautiful event? Yeah, I love it. We're getting response from the audience. Isn't this a beautiful event? I would like to acknowledge our excellent staff who work every day to ensure that the League of Women Voters of Colorado runs smoothly. They support our 20 local leagues and raise enough money to do everything that we do. Katina Frierson has once again put her heart and soul into this event, and it shows. Thank you, Katina. Where are you, Katina? Thank you. We're so glad you're a part of our team. Really, we're so glad. And thank you to Jane Dunk, our operations manager. Hi, Jane. And Shelby Stockard, who is our new intern. Hi, Shelby. They've been acting as our boots on the ground and assisting Katina with the million details it takes to throw a party like this. As many of you know, our work is much more than recognition dinners. I want to thank our action and advocacy team, the core 40 league members who tirelessly research and deliberate and then advocate for Colorado policies that align with our mission of empowering voters and defending democracy. A special thank you goes to our staff, the legislative liaison, Andrea Wilkins, who helps lead and graciously, and I do mean graciously, coordinate the action and advocacy efforts. Thank you. Our staff at the League of Women Voters of Colorado is strengthened by their leader, and that is our Executive Director, Beth Hendricks. She's the one over here in the corner in the nice blue dress. The State of Colorado League was organized in 1928, and we've come a long way as an organization since, but none more so than the last 6.5 years. This is when Beth came on board. Beth has helped our grow our membership to 2,400 members. I know. And with her due diligence, our local leagues stand 20 strong. We have 20 local leagues across the state. You want to get your word out? Come to us, because we can get it out there for you. I jokingly refer to Beth as the league's human node. She drives our initiatives and connects our work to all the stakeholders from LWVUS, that's our mothership,
League of Women Voters United States, to our local leagues, community partners, media partners, Colorado's General Assembly, and our most important, our statewide membership. Her email box is a sight to behold, and I imagine not always a pretty sight to Beth. We love you. All right, a special thank you to the University of Denver's Korbel School of International Studies for hosting us. This Alex. I said earlier to someone, my husband walked in and said, dang, I got a view too. They really got it going here. Our partnership with DU has grown over the last couple of years, and we've sponsored their fantastic Denver Democracy Summer. And we're grateful for both DU's leadership and friendship. Instrumental is, where's Landon? Landon, are you here? Mascarenas? Did I even get it close, Mascarenas? Hi. Who facilitated DU hosting us tonight. Thank you very much. Now, please join me in welcoming Dean of the school, Fritz May. Dean?
Well, welcome. It is just a delight to have all of you here this evening. It really is meaningful for all of us. This is such I didn't realize it was 105 years. What a great American institution the league is. It's really fantastic. So we're just delighted to be hosting your Leaders of Democracy event this week and partnering with you and honoring Attorney General Phil Weiser, District Attorney Daniel Rubinstein for their great work. How fortunate are we in Colorado to have public leaders like the two of them? I'll say just a few words about the Korbel School. One thing you might not know, it has not yet been made public, is that we're increasingly involved in Colorado in the School of International Studies. Why would we be doing this here? Well, shortly there'll be a public announcement, but you can be among the first to know that we're changing our name to the Joseph Korbel School of Global and Public Affairs to signal our commitment to public policy and to being involved not just at the international level, but also very much at the local and state level here in Colorado and at the national level as well. And nothing is more central to what we do than the state of democracy. Around the world, yes, but here in America. It's a central issue for us as it is with the League of Women Voters. In a lot of ways, it's in our DNA. You may know the story, but Joseph Corbell was a Czech immigrant who fled the Nazis and then returned to Czechoslovakia in those days, and then had to flee again from the Soviets. And he found himself in Denver, Colorado, and with his young family, including his daughter Madeline, who became Madeline Albright. And nothing was more important to Joseph Corbell than living in a democratic society. He seems to have passed that on to his daughter as well. One of the great privileges of my life was getting to know Madeline and being able to work with her before passing. And one of her daughters is now on our board, so it's a wonderful tradition. And share a little bit with Madeline's family history. My father, a little bit like Attorney General Weiser's family, was a Holocaust survivor and came to America after the war. And so for me, this is personal as well. And just to show that it's not partisan, I had a conversation with Condoleezza Rice. Some of you might have been there a few weeks ago. And Condi talking about, in her life, the centrality of promoting democracy around the world. Didn't always agree with Madeline, but never before has democracy been a partisan issue, and nor should it be. It's hard to believe that we are where we are at this moment, where we're having conversations about the need to defend democracy, not just in Hungary, but closer to home. So never in my lifetime has democracy felt more threatened. So thank you for all the work that you do. It's just a privilege. As was mentioned, we're delighted to partner with the League of Women Voters as part of our Democracy Summit. We're really on the same team here. Promoting democracy, healthy democracy that functions and works. If I could just add a personal note, my League played a very particular important role in my own life. My mother was very active in the League of Women Voters in Georgia in the 1960s. And I called her an hour ago, because she's 93, still very sharp. And I called her to say, Mom, I'm going to get to say a few remarks to the League of Women Voters of Colorado. She sends her regards. I was pretty young, so I asked her, she said, I once told somebody that Daddy goes to work and Mommy goes to meetings. But in those years, certainly in Atlanta, the 1960s, the League was at the forefront of integration, fair housing, a host of other issues, and it was a great conversation because I actually didn't know a lot of what my mother was involved in. I was pretty young at that time. So the League, at a personal level, has been an important institution in 105 years. What a proud history. Has been and remains an important, very important institution as part of the infrastructure of democracy. So congratulations on the work you're doing. Absolutely delighted that you're having your meeting here in this lovely spot. So welcome.
Well, all I got to say is all the great ones are raised by a mother that's a leader, right? Come on. We really appreciate your partnership. Thank you very much. We are now honored to welcome Representative Junie Joseph, a passionate lawmaker serving House District 10 in Boulder, who was one of the driving forces and main sponsors behind the Colorado Voting Rights Act. Yeah, great, come on. And that was signed this May 12th. Representative Joseph has a long history of advocating for issues with focus on equity and fairness. Before coming to the University of Colorado Boulder for law school, she worked for the UN Office of High Commissioner for Human Rights in Geneva. for the U.S. Agency for International Development in the Ivory Coast, and she served as a White House intern in the Obama administration. In addition to her prior work on the Boulder City Council and on state and national committees, she is also a small business owner and family lawyer who protects families from government interference. She assumed office in January 2023 and has continued to focus on equity while also advocating for gun safety, climate safety, education, housing, and reproductive justice, just among many others. Please help me welcome Representative Junie Joseph.
Good afternoon, evening, it looks more like daytime. It is an honor to be here with you, and special thanks to the League of Women Voters, the administration, and professors who lead the research from the Corbell School of International Studies. Democracy isn't static. It is not a static achievement. It is a living promise we renew with every election. Today, I want to talk to you about Colorado's bold commitment to expanding our democratic promise through the Colorado Voting Rights Act, also known as COVRA. Also, I wanted to note, thank you for being here. And this work could not have been done without all of you being here today. This landmark legislation ensures fair voting access for all Coloradans, especially those who are traditionally marginalized. Our democracy thrives when every eligible voter can participate, when no Coloradan is left behind because of geographic, language, gender identity, or tribal status. Expanding democracy means equal access to the ballot, fair representation, and the ability to shape Colorado's future. That's the work at the heart of the Colorado Voting Rights Act. COVRA codifies into state law many protections from the Federal Voting Rights Act. It prohibits voter suppression, deliberate or disparate barriers affecting protected racial, language, gender identity, or LGBTQ plus groups, and voter dilution, where election methods are reduced or methods reduce the influence of these communities. It mandates stronger protections, including voting rights access for tribal communities, multilingual ballots, not just in counties, but also in municipalities with language minorities, notices in care facilities for persons with disabilities, protection for incarcerated voters, and a new election information office to collect demographic and election data publicly, aid enforcement and support transparency. COVRA empowers both private citizens and the Attorney General, and I see our Attorney General Phil Weiser here today, and thank you for all the work that you do with us at the state capitol, and thank you to your staff. You are very involved in this particular piece of legislation. So again, COVRA empowers the Attorney General to file suits with structured notification and solution periods to address violation. This achievement is a testament to collaboration. I want to offer some more acknowledgement to the Colorado House of Representatives, and today some of my colleagues are right here seating, supporting the great work of the League of Women Voters. And also our Senate colleagues who sponsored this piece of legislation. Dozens of advocacy groups from the ACLU Colorado to Common Cause Colorado and the League of Women Voters, as previously noted. Tribal leaders, disability rights activists, language access experts, LGBTQ plus rights advocates, all came together to make democracy more inclusive and vibrant across our state. But COBRA did not pass without opposition. Opponents raised concerns about administrative burdens, threats of litigation, and the dreaded word that most legislators fear at the Capitol, local control, which refers to interference in local, nonpartisan municipal elections. I also want to highlight that the democratic process is messy, and friends can sometimes find themselves on opposite sides of the issue. In the Senate, both Republicans and Democrats offered amendments and changes that were not welcomed by the various coalitions that brought the bill. Some of my dear colleagues offered amendments to add provisions for notifying clerks of security breaches, which highlight an issue that we dealt with in 2024 involving election machine passwords. That amendment was thoughtfully redirected, recognizing that such issue deserves separate focused legislation. Again, colleagues were, as I noted, because this process is so messy and it requires a lot of engagement, colleagues wanted to offer different policy and wanted to bring it into the bill, but they were, again, as noted, thoughtfully redirected. This was not a derailment, but rigorous democratic debate, strengthening the bill's integrity. In a time when the Federal Voters' Rights Act is increasingly vulnerable in the courts, COBRA is the law. It is a commitment, a statewide embrace of justice, equality, and the power of one person, one vote. It demonstrates what democracy looks like when lawmakers, advocates, and communities unite across differences. Let this be an example. Expanding democracy requires bold ideas, legal protections, collaborative leadership, and moral clarity to say no when rights are threatened. Together, we affirm that in Colorado, democracy is not just maintained, it is deepened, strengthened, entrusted, and inspired. I want to thank you for this opportunity, and I want to again thank the League of Women for this opportunity to talk here with you today. I did not know what it was going to look like, actually. I thought there were going to be a lot of students in the room, and I thought to myself, I needed to say something inspiring to the young people. But I think I can share it with you, because some of you are still very young at heart. So, you've heard my background. And how did I end up at the legislature? It's because many people, for instance, we have Ms. Vida Brown, who is a member of the League of Women's Voters. Thank you. Who supported me, and I believe without her support, I would not have been a legislator. But if we go back to the beginning when I ran for city council, young people made it possible for me to be here. For me to be the first Black woman elected on the Boulder City Council, in a community where about 89 to 91% of the community, the population is white, 8% Hispanic, and 1% other. So your vote is truly powerful. And by the way, there's only about 57 black people in Boulder, and so again, I can only be here because of the votes of our community members. So much is possible with your vote. And dare to vote, dare to go out there and cast your ballot. And it's so important to empower young people as well too, to go out there and vote. Because sometimes what I've heard throughout the years, young people are not as engaged as our older population or people in their 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s. But it is up to us as well to inspire them to want to be in this room with the rest of us. Again, thank you for the opportunity to be here, and had it not been for the votes, I would not be here with all of you. Thank you.
Thank you, Representative Joseph. We so appreciated your sponsorship of COBRA, your work overall in the Colorado legislature, and your leadership. You're truly an inspiration. I'm Beth Hendricks. I'm the Executive Director of the League of Women Voters of Colorado. And I'd like to take a moment to highlight the incredible accomplishments your support made possible this past year. We've already mentioned the landmark legislation known as the Colorado Voting Rights Act, the most expansive voter protection bill in state history. LWVCO staff and volunteers began working in coalition with Colorado Common Cause more than 2 years ago, along with the Harvard Law School Elections Law Clinic. And other partners quickly joined in, including the ACLU, Colorado Black Women for Political Action, Mi Familia Vota, and many more. We're so proud to have this legacy with the League stamp on it, because this bill will ensure voting access for our LGBTQIA neighbors, our neighbors living on reservations, those living with disabilities, and more, while improving our already awesome redistricting processes. Besides COBRA, our Legislative Action Committee advocated for or against 126 bills as they wound their way through the Capitol this year. May I please ask current and past members of the Legislative Action Committee, our citizen lobbyists, to please stand and accept our gratitude. Trained hundreds of volunteers, empowered thousands of voters with nonpartisan election resources, and grew our network of local leagues statewide. We now have 20 chapters statewide, serving 24 counties that hold more than 90% of our state's population. Vote 411 continues to grow stronger in usage and content, thanks to a network of volunteers statewide led by coordinator Kath Perone. Kath and her team put in countless hours to ensure election and ballot information is easily accessible to every voter in Colorado. And the Colorado Supreme Court handed our Greeley-Weld chapter a hard-fought victory against the Weld County Board of Commissioners and those commissioners are currently redrawing new maps that will hopefully represent all of the people of Weld, and if they don't, we'll sue them again. They need to follow the law and let all voices be heard. We defended access to information through 12 task forces, legislative action, and legal advocacy. We adopted a new position for advocacy on religious freedom, giving LWVCO a solid stance to advocate for public education and against school vouchers, for women's reproductive rights, and against restrictions based on archaic gender roles. Thank you, Jack. We looked internally to see how we can better walk the walk and serve our state and its people. So we made a small move. We moved our money from a commercial bank to a community development financial institution, Native American Bank. Now we're just hoping that CDFIs can survive the current administration. So we made history not only through policy, but through presence at the Capitol, in the courtroom, and in communities across Colorado. And now I'm proud to share a short video that connects our fight today with the long arc of democracy, a national project we hope you'll join us in supporting, the creation of the first ever national monument dedicated to women, the suffragists, on the National Mall in Washington, D.C.
Hi, League of Women Voters, Colorado. So happy and excited to be able to give you this update. For those who I have never met before, my name is Anna Lehman. I am the president and CEO of the Women's Suffrage National Monument Foundation, logo here. Okay, I have been asked to give you a quick update about the project. So for those who have never met us before, we are the organization that Congress has charged with building America's newest monument, America's most exciting monument. Our job is to build the Women's Suffrage National Monument on the National Mall. We will be the first, and for right now, the only, but hopefully more come behind us. But for now, we are the first monument on the National Mall dedicated to American women's history. That's the big news. For those who were with us along this journey, you know that Congress authorized us to build this monument back in 2020. But that legislation said, hey, go build this monument in Washington, D.C., anywhere but the National Mall. Well, that all changed. We have new legislation that just passed a few months ago, signed by the president, that authorizes us to put the Women's Suffrage National Monument in the beating heart of our nation's capital on the National Mall. And actually, it is illegal now to build it anywhere else but the National Mall. So it must go on the National Mall. In case you don't know this stat, there are 40 monuments, memorials, and statues on the National Mall. 40. 22 of those are dedicated to singular men, 10 to military and war veterans, the list goes on. But of those 40, 0 are dedicated to American women's history. Until now, we're about to change it all. And this all started in Colorado back in 2018 in Loveland, when a group of incredible Coloradoans had this idea to make sure that our nation's capital told a more complete American story, and one that included what women have done for this country. Those women, of course, took it to their Congressman Nate Goose, who then brought this to the Capitol and made it all happen from there with the support of the entire Colorado delegation all along the way. Our roots are deep in Colorado, deep, deep, deep. And this is now a national story, and one that is going to impact women across the country forever. Because as we like to say, we are in the business of permanence over here in this monument making world. So I wanted to give you this update. I wanted to say thank you to all of you at League of Women Voters Colorado. And I wanted to ask, hey, if you like this project, would you donate? womensmonument.org/donate. womensmonument.org/donate. Many of you have already given. Thank you. We've needed you all along the way, and we will keep needing you. And I'm here for you anytime. Thank you for everything that you have done for us. Talk to you soon. Hi, League of Women Voters, Colorado. So happy and excited to be able to give you this update. For those who I have never met before, my name is Anna Lehman. I am the president and CEO of the Women's Suffrage National Monument Foundation, logo here. Okay, I have been asked to give you a quick update about the project. So for those
Longtime civic leader, Kent Theory, whose generosity and dedication have been instrumental in powering the League's work in protecting and strengthening our democracy. Kent Theory or otherwise known KT. Maybe we call you KT. All right. Was chairman and CEO of DaVita from 1999 to 2019, a Fortune 500 company with 65,000 teammates across 12 countries. Kent made a public pledge in 2015 that DaVita would be one of the first Fortune 500 companies to have a majority diverse board, and they fulfilled that pledge in 2016. Boy, even a short time frame we did that. He is significantly involved in the national U.S. democracy movement and has successfully led 6 tripartisan statewide ballot initiatives, including redistricting reform and open primaries. He is co-chair of Unite America and serves on the global board of the Nature Conservancy. He earned his BA in political science with distinction and Phi Beta Kappa from Stanford. He earned his MBA with honors from Harvard Business School. He's the recipient of many awards and honors, including the Woodrow Wilson Award for Denver Corporate Citizenship in 2013, the International Bridge Builders Award from the University of Denver, and the Governor's Citizenship Medal for Growth and Innovation. KT is married to Denise O'Leary, has 2 children, as an enthusiastic but modestly capable mountain biker and backpacker. Welcome, Kat. Come on up.
That was such a generous introduction. What did we contribute to this? Well, we're going to double it. Being in this room, it just, I mean, this is what America's about. And this is what we need to get back to. And Denise and I have been very lucky, and so we're, whoa. And plus I had a glass of wine. I can't have another one because I'm having dinner with Senator Hickman from his wife after this. So I show up for always going to be a short night. Maybe a long night. Hick used to enjoy beverages. I have to on the majority diverse board, where we might have been first ever Fortune 500. We're certainly in the top 5. But a little story that I was giving a talk the next day to the Colorado Women's Foundation. And as I sat there, I thought about my daughter. And I thought about the hardships that my wife had endured. She was one of America's first female venture capitalists. And what she had to tolerate at meetings and the rest was brutal. This is back 40 years ago. And we literally postponed getting pregnant because we were afraid if we got pregnant, she would never make a partner. And so we waited until she made it before we did it. And so I thought about that, and thought about how my daughter, Christina, we did not want her to go through. But then I'm sitting there, oh my God, what's going on? You guys are an inspiring bunch. That my daughter was still in the face, not my wife, but still not where we should be. And so what can I do? We think our company is very responsible, thoughtful, innovative, and progressive in this area. But still, and so I was sitting over at my desk at 11 o'clock tonight, the night before giving this talk, that I said, damn it, well, I'm going to declare that we're going to be perhaps the first Fortune 500 majority diverse board tomorrow. It was a sign that I'm going to help my daughter. So I went and did it, and the room, I went on to my next speaking point, but I couldn't because the room erupted. In a way that showed you how much pent-up frustration, anger, excitement, all right there in one, and so we did it. I have to admit also that I had 2 glasses of wine the night before, and then so I was just sort of thrilled, goosebumps, until I found out that it got listed out on the Wire, Reuters, or whatever, and I had not told my board. I actually, of course, don't control the board. And so I started getting messages from members of the board saying, oh, we heard about the big announcement. when were you going to discuss this with us? But they were all so supportive that we sort of threw it and we got it done in a year and a half or so. So anyway, that brought all those memories back about a number of journeys run for women's rights and for true democracy, which is of course what we're here tonight about. I love the League of Women Voters. We've been partners in a number of things. The anti-gerrymander 2018 Y and Z started out with both parties opposing and won, and if not, we would probably have no competitive districts in this state right now. And if each state in America just contributes 2 competitive districts, having 100 competitive districts again in the House of Representatives would be a stunning gift to our democracy and to the representation of people that are center left, center right, or center, not far left or far right, who currently have disproportionate power. They deserve disproportionate power. They don't deserve disproportionate power. The middle, center left, center right, and center deserve their voice back, and that's what we were about then. And then we got awfully close this last time around on 131. And I personally made some mistakes in running that campaign. I'm accountable for that. I apologize to those of you who are working on it. We came and we could have won. We learned some painful lessons, and now we're working on Courageous Colorado with Land in the League. Once again, trying to plant the seeds and then water those seeds for a successful, sustainable, healthy democracy with truly representative dynamics. Proportional representation we will every day, but also are great thought partners with the League of Women Voters. We both have a historical respect, a deep historical regard for the fact that democracy is a fragile experiment. You look at the history of the world and the rise and fall of democracies, and it takes work to keep them going. And with the League, there's a charge of management the groups is similarly dedicated to that. And the League knows that this is not a spectator sport. It's not only a participant sport, it's a full contact participant sport. And actually, this reminds me, I should recognize by name 2 of the state elected officials here. Lisa Ferre and Cecilia Espinoza, please stand for a moment. You can speak with experience that these 2 state elected officials are willing to vote for what's best for their state, their country, and the world before partisan politics. And while they are partisan and not embarrassed about it, it's not the priority. The top priority is doing what's right. And so I've very much enjoyed getting to know them. And so much of this battle about democracy is waged at different levels, but we need to remember Abraham Lincoln's words about the better angels. That for democracy to survive, we all need periodically to remind ourselves and remind others about the need to be the better angels in fighting the battle against the forces of darkness. And in fact, when I think about the League of Women Voters, I think of you as one of Colorado's brightest manifestations of the better angels. That your group is filled with better angels, which the rest of us rely on big time. In so many states, I've lived in 7 different states, so many states have a lot of millions of reasonably satisfied residents. They don't break the law, they pay the taxes, but that's what they're residents. One of the reasons we decided to move to Colorado and move our company to Colorado 15 years ago is because Colorado still has citizens. Still has, if you think about it, when I'm talking to CEO groups, I say, how many of you are citizens of America? And typically it would be 80% or so. And I say, no, don't raise your hand so quickly. Tell me what you would tell your 12-year-old son or daughter what a citizen looks like. And then answer the question of, are you a citizen or a resident of America? And you can see the uncomfortable fidgeting about whether or not we as adults and moms and daddies look at what we tell our kids, democracy is social values. There's that old saying, what you're doing speaks so loudly I can't hear a word you're saying. That's very much true when it comes to democracy. I was asked to talk about why. Well, first, kind of my history of this stuff. I ran for student council in 3rd grade. And so very early on had a taste of what it's like to represent and to serve, and how glorious it is, and how easy it is to lose your way. And then in college I did political science, history, and econ, sort of the holy trifecta for figuring out what policy and democracy looks like, and being reminded of how fragile it all is. And then in 2006, before most people knew what gerrymandering was, I was the co-author of the California Redistricting Commission. That's where I lived before. And to everyone's amazement, we won. Everybody said we were going to lose, but Arnold Schwarzenegger was a brave, independent governor, carried the torch. Both parties were against it, and we won in a big state because this is what people believe in, basic fairness, no matter what party they're from. The great thing when you run these initiatives, and you do focus groups, and you do polls, 90% of citizens are about fairness, they're about freedom, they're about choice. They're mature, they act like adults, they're willing to compromise. That's the reality of our population. And so we suffered that defeat in 131, which really hurt. But we've also, in the last X years, had victories in Alaska, victories in New Mexico, victories in Missouri, victories in New York, with advancing the cause with things like opening up primaries and anti-gerrymandering, or defending when people were trying to take things the other way and turn back the tide of history. And they asked me to talk about why I do this. I think of what Teddy Roosevelt said: do what you can with what you have, where you are. And so at this stage in life, in the last 10 years or so, that's just what I'm doing, what I can with what I have right now here and as a citizen of this state and the world. And then I have kids. I now have 2 grandkids. I want them to grow up in a democracy that's as vibrant and healthy as the one that I've gotten to enjoy the last 60-odd years. And that's not obviously going to happen. And that's why we're all fighting for it. And that's why I'm here. But it is hard. And it's easy to get a little sad about things. But my fundamental hope and optimism comes from the fact that the basic, powerful fact that the American people are not nearly as polarized as American politics. Not even close. It is not, our people are not driving a wedge into our legislatures. Our legislatures are driving a wedge into our people by creating these mutually exclusive, insulated packages of take all or take none, which is not how most Americans think. There's all sorts of citizens assemblies going on. You put 400 Americans into a hotel for a weekend, and they come out with compromises that make sense in just about every major area because they're practical, because they care about their neighbors, because they care about fairness. So we just have to change the system so more of those people get elected, and the good people can get reelected even if they vote outside their party. And let me see, because I totally got so excited I lost track of what I was supposed to say. It is so fundamental what we're about. When you look at something that has the artifice, I mean, there's that stealth bomb where the building survives, but everybody in it is dead from the sonic waves. It's a bit like having a stealth democracy. It has the form of a democracy, but not really the dynamism of a democracy. Right now, in our own state, Colorado, 85% of the time, there's no point in having not only a general election, but not even a primary, because 85% of the time, we can predict with 99% certainty who the winner is, because there's only one viable candidate. Those are the facts. It's not a prediction. It's not an unfair characterization. It's not an exaggeration. That's the math. That for most of us, we rarely have a real choice. We still do. We have wonderful turnout at statewide elections. Unfortunately, 85% of the time, the statewide election has nothing to do with who actually serves. And so that's a bit of a mountain to climb. And when you see a democracy there without the vibrancy that comes from choice, that comes from meaningful voting, it's a little bit like seeing a bird without wings, or a fountain without water, or a child without a smile. It has the form, you know what it is, but something's wrong. Something's wrong, and that's what we have going on here. But Confucius said it's better to light a small candle than curse the darkness, and that's what the League does. And the League does way more than light a candle. And in the years to come, we may friggin' light up the entire power grid. And so I'll just remind us what Abraham Lincoln again said back in the Gettysburg Address, after honoring the dead. What he said: rather it is for us here in the living to be dedicated to the unfinished work that they who fought here have thus far so nobly advanced. Rather it spirit of living, to be dedicated to the the great task remaining before us. That from these honored dead, we take increased devotion to that cause for which they gave the last full measure of devotion. That we hereby resolve that they shall not have died in vain, and that this nation shall have a new birth under God, and that government by the people, of the people, and for the people shall not perish from the earth. Amen, Abraham. Go America. I stand with the League, and the League stands for democracy. Thank you.
Ken, again, thank you for your partnership and friendship. Thank you for the donation as well. You're a mover and shaker. You put your money where your mouth is. And says, yeah. But you, though, create positive change. You understand the value and importance of the League's statewide network, and we share a lot of the same values. Your support is really meaningful, and we really are very grateful. Let's give another round of applause. Thank you very much, Kent Leary and Denise Leary. That's a hard act to follow, though, let me tell you. Now, it's my honor, and this one will be able to follow. This one will be able to. Now it is my honor to introduce tonight's featured conversation, one that illustrates what it truly means to lead with integrity even under pressure. Moderated by Danny Newsom, Director of Strategic Partnership at Cobalt Advocates. We're bringing together tonight's distinguished honorees. Colorado Attorney General Phil Weiser of the state of Colorado and District Attorney Dan Rubinstein of the 21st Judicial District. Their partnership in defense of free and fair elections set a national example. Danny, the stage is yours.
Hi, everybody. I'm going to say what's probably on some of your minds.
No, esa no sirve, toca la otra. Esa no sirve, Diego, ahí no sirve.
And yes, now I am dyeing my hair. Anyway, well, Attorney General Weiser, District Attorney Rubinstein, will you please join me on stage?
Not yet? There we go. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Well, this is an honor.
On the first.
I have never met you before. So this is an honor. Did I tell you, Christina?
Yes.
Anyway, I see you on the trail a lot, and so this is an honor. And it's an honor to be here participating in the League of Women Voters of Colorado. And I have to say this real quickly. I do work for Cobalt, and where is Beth? Beth? Beth in the back. I haven't told you this, I'll tell everybody this, that the League is being honored this year by Cobalt at our recognition awards on July 9th as one of our outstanding partners. So let's hear it for the League of Women Voters. Details to follow. All right, this has been quite a year, and the gentlemen on the stage with me that I'm honored to be sharing the stage with have really distinguished themselves, so I'm honored to be here. First, I'll talk about I'll introduce you, as if you all need an introduction. Attorney General Phil Weiser has spent his career fighting for these principles, the principles of democracy. Now in his second term as Colorado's 39th Attorney General, he has led the charge in consumer protection, criminal justice reform and defending fundamental rights, securing over $787 million in opioid settlements, strengthening peace officer training, and safeguarding Colorado's natural resources. His leadership, though, extends beyond the courtroom. He has argued landmark cases before the U.S. Supreme Court, advanced solutions to reduce recidivism and support re-entry, and stood firm in defending voting rights, reproductive rights, and civil liberties. As the son and grandson of Holocaust survivors, Attorney General Weiser carries forward a legacy of resilience, ensuring that justice is not just a promise, but a practice. We are honored to recognize Attorney General Phil Weiser as a 2025 Leader of Democracy. District Attorney Daniel P. Rubinstein has served the people of Mesa County with unwavering commitment, leading the 21st Judicial District as a prosecutor for nearly 3 decades. His expertise in criminal law, dedication to protecting vulnerable communities, and leadership in shaping policy have earned him statewide recognition, including being named Colorado Prosecutor of the Year. From his work on the state meth task force to his leadership on the Colorado Commission of Criminal and Juvenile Justice, DA Rubinstein has been a steadfast advocate for justice, accountability, and community safety. His role extends beyond the courtroom, though. He is also a mentor, a policymaker, and a champion for a legal system that serves and protects all Coloradans. It is with great honor that we recognize District Attorney Daniel P. Rubinstein as the 2025 Leader of Democracy. Well, both of you have been involved. I'm not known for being politic. I usually let it rip, but I'm going to behave tonight. And both of you have been involved in the Tina Peters case. And this is a case that placed both of you in a national spotlight and under pressure from all sides. So the question is, what gave you the conviction to move forward in the face of that spotlight, in the face of that pressure? What gave you the conviction to move forward anyway?
Can you start? Sure. Well, let me back up just a bit and sort of explain how the two of us got into this together. I got a phone call, actually, Attorney General Weiser provided the phone number to the the Secretary of State's office to call my cell number about 7:30 in the morning as I was driving into work to let me know that our passcodes for our voting systems were out on the internet, and that they were sending a team to come over to Grand Junction the next day to investigate, letting me know that they don't investigate criminal matters, they investigate administrative issues as to whether or not to certify the voting machines or decertify them, and wanted to know if we wanted to have an investigator in the room with them for that. And I said, of course, and I had my chief investigator call, and fairly quickly after that, I was on the Attorney General's cell phone explaining what was going on, and we started having conversations about what this is going to look like and what we need to do. We fairly quickly came to the conclusion that this really needed to be under my authority as the Republican DA in a Republican town, rather than under the Attorney General's authority, concurrent authority to prosecute those election offenses because of party issues. And then we started talking about, well, he asked me, what do you need from me? And I said, I need 2 lawyers. And he said, you pick whoever you want. And so I want to take a moment to recognize Rob Shapiro, who's seated right in front of me. Rob Shapiro and James Drake were the 2 names I gave him, and they are his head of criminal and the person who's right under her as the head of the complex prosecution team. Is that the name? Close enough. Complex prosecution. Basically his 2 best criminal prosecutors. And he said, of course, absolutely. And so then the conversations from there were, we knew this is looking into an elected official. This is on a very hot button issue, and we had to immediately start thinking about how is this going to unfold, but there was never really a question about whether or not to do it. It was the right thing. It had to be done. As Kent talked about, these issues are about the bulk of the country is in the center and wants people to be held accountable for what they're doing, and certainly wants elected officials to be held accountable for what they're doing. And yet, do we acknowledge or realize that it was going to be on a national stage and difficult? Of course, but it never really entered into our mind that that would affect whether we're angry to do it.
I'll add a few points. As my time as Attorney General, we've handled investigations and accountability actions in high-profile elected officials that I can think of 4 cases. 2 were Republicans, 2 were Democrats. And it was very important in all these cases that be done without fear or favor by the book. We are living in a low-trust moment. A lot of people are quick to assume that you're doing X because you're a Democrat, you're doing Y because you're a Republican. And in Dan, I had the extraordinary opportunity to have a partner who's going to do this 100% the right way, with a commitment to the rule of law, to doing justice, and as a result, building confidence in our institutions. And obviously, electoral institutions are essential to democracy. And we cannot allow people to break the law, to play games. And that's why I knew this was a very important prosecution. When Dan asked for my 2 best criminal prosecutors, it was a very easy thing to say, you got it, literally whatever you need. The scary part of this moment is, with social media in particular, there are a lot of people who might be quick to think they know better, and they've already tried a case in social media, and we can disregard what the jury and what the judge who sentences someone actually thinks. And this is the counterpart to what KT said. A jury of 12 people, like you mentioned, how many people? 40 people over the weekend? Something like that? Who come from their ordinary lives to listen to evidence and to make a decision, will do the right thing. And I've had a few cases that I've had a very close front row seat in, and I've been so impressed with our jury system. I actually wrote a book about the jury system, so I'm a big believer in the jury system. I am a bigger believer right now, and those people in Mesa County, they sat on this, and they came back with a number of convictions, and then the judge sentenced. Is it still on the internet, the judge's testament, what the judge said? Somewhere it is. The judge who sat through the trial talked about what this trial showed. And what trials and legal process should be is acting with integrity, juries doing the right thing, the public be able to take it in. And particularly on confidence around elections, this was a really important case, and I couldn't have had a better partner.
What I think we're all impressed with is not just saying your commitment to your shared commitment to democracy, but to the practices and institutions that make a democracy. So thank you again. Now, from your different vantage points, what did you learn from one another through this process? What does it look like to build a blueprint for bipartisan collaboration in moments that truly matter?
I'll go first. Dan is an extraordinary criminal prosecutor. Dan is a gift to Colorado. And the esteem that he has held in his community and his integrity was the right person in the right place. There are a lot of people currently as elected DAs, had they been in that same situation, this would not have worked the way it did. And so I'm continuing to learn a lot from Dan about what genuine public service looks like, what true collaboration looks like, what community leadership looks like. And when I went to Mesa County, he brought me to talk to his board of county commissioners who were victims in this case, because what happened in this case was that Mesa County ended up losing a lot of money because of all this. So the county was sort of victim as well. But his reputation, and this is an important point, you hear this idea that business gets done with speed of trust. Government works also if you have trust. And Dan built up so much trust in his community. And we worked together on other issues too. We worked together in the opioid crisis where I was able to bring money back to communities, and Dan's been a real leader in Grand Junction, finding ways to do work in youth prevention so young kids don't start turning to opioids. And so I've learned a lot from Dan about what leadership looks like.
So I would say the blueprint is that you don't start when there's a crisis. And for those of you who don't know, Phil. So he came, I met him about 8 years ago when he first started running for Attorney General, and he immediately came up to Grand Junction, met with me, sat down with me, we talked through what the issues were, and then as soon as he got the job, we started working together on all sorts of issues. And fast forward about 4 years when this happened, we have become good friends. And so you don't ever want to wait until there's a crisis. You want the guy who's giving my cell number to the person who's solving the crisis, and then he and I having each other's cell numbers to get on the phone and start working on how we're going to do it. But once you have that trust, things go very smoothly. And I would say it was weekly, if not daily, phone conversations when we're facing difficult decisions. So for those of you who don't know, sort of down dirty in the case, we didn't charge anything in this case, and this was largely Janet and Rob's influence on me and Phil's influence on me, but we need to make sure that this case is not about whether the election was stolen, because we don't want the trial hijacked into a dispute or a debate about that. This was a case about checks and balances. This was a case about democracy. This was a case about doing things the right way. And we're right now facing all sorts of situations with both parties going about things the wrong way. Well, what should have happened here is if Tina Peters believed that Jenna Griswold wasn't doing what she was supposed to do, then she goes to the county attorney and she says, can you file an action in district court that allows me to take an image of this and have an expert look at it? But she didn't do that. She was going about all sorts of other things, and I want to be careful because the case is still on appeal. But this was about checks and balances. This was about going about things the right process and the right way so that all the checks and balances are honored. And so what I learned from Phil and his team is just how important it is to get on the phone and communicate and trust the people you're working with, and know that when you go to them, when you're getting honest answers from them, that this isn't a hidden agenda, and this isn't about them getting out in front of the cameras. This is about them solving the problem. As KT said, democracy is nonpartisan. I think several people have said it. Democracy is nonpartisan. Criminal justice is also nonpartisan. You may run as a partisan person for my job. I certainly, the Attorney General's office does have other things beyond criminal law, suing the administration, other things that do involve more partisan issues, but criminal justice is not one of them. And whether you run as a Democrat or Republican, once you get the job, you are everyone's lawyer, and the law has to be applied to
Thank God we live in Colorado. All right. The theme of this year's event is liberty and justice for all. How does this case and your shared work, your other shared work that you alluded to, how does that reflect that principle in action? Liberty and justice for all.
One of the challenges that is really looming large at this moment is people believing that we don't have equal justice for all, but depending on who you are, depending on how powerful you are, you might get a pass. And that is a real threat to the foundation of our democratic republic. The idea of liberty and justice for all means if you've been wronged, there's going to be justice. Dan made this point about criminal justice, that it shouldn't be ever viewed or used in a partisan way. And I will say that weighs heavily on my mind, that we have to continue to advance that idea. And in this sense, this case, from an objective standpoint, was harder for Dan than it was for me. I brought on a couple cases where I took on Democratic elected officials, so I've been down that road. And when I took on Republicans, for me, my challenge was different. I didn't want it to look like it was partisan, but I wasn't going to get partisan flack for taking on someone in another department. I had the opportunity in this case to work with Dan. He could have said, and I want to lift this up because this is a profiling coach. Dan could have said, you know what? For my electoral prospects, it's probably better if I don't take this one. Why don't you take this one? And he didn't say that because he is about integrity. And then it was important, and frankly for me, it was the right thing to do for me to say what Dan counted, which is it will look better in the community. Even though I had concurrent jurisdiction, which is an awkward situation, we both could have been arm wrestling with this. I said, no, it will look better for you to be the lead. We're going to support you, whatever you need. And that was important because we really need to hold on to this ideal of the rule of law. And I have to say, when I started running for Attorney General, I would talk about the rule of law. And my wife, Heidi Walt, who's here with us today, would say, why do you talk about the rule of law so much? I don't know if ordinary people care that deeply about the rule of law. And I said, I'm really sorry, it's an occupational hazard.
So what the Attorney General was describing actually was a big concern in Grand Junction. In Mesa County, every single county official that is elected is Republican. I'm not technically a county official in the 21st Judicial District, Republican. And all three commissioners, the treasurer, the clerk and recorder, and all of our legislators are Republican. So I knew it was not going to be very popular for me to do this, but what has always gotten me through is I explain why I'm doing this. And I took the time to explain, this is why I have to do this, and when I was having the conversations with Phil about whose authority this needed to come under, it was an acknowledgement that it is going to be painful for me to do it because they are going to, I was going to potentially get retaliated against, and ultimately did get a few death threats and a few other things associated with the case, but we knew it would have credibility, and it had to have credibility because it had to happen. We knew she had to be held accountable for what she did. And so I want to acknowledge another person in the room, my wife Stephanie, who didn't have any say in this. And I had two kids at home, one that was, getting approached at school by school counselors asking, are you okay? And, checking to see. So it was a big deal, but it had to happen. Accountability has to happen. And sometimes when you run for office, you don't know what's coming towards you. And you run for office and you take the job, but you still got to do the job.
Let me say, Mitt Romney was quoted as saying during one judicial proceeding he was a part of, I will keep this very oblique, he knew that people didn't vote their conscience because they were afraid about the threats of violence. And so just to underscore what I said about Dan earlier, he, and this is true about Rob and Janet too, and I faced them also, he was about doing what was right without fear and without letting those who were engaging in intimidation tactics or attacks on social media. And that's what we so desperately need in this moment.
So I do want to end this, however, by saying, ultimately, after I explained what happened and what I wanted to do about it, we brought the case at the request of all three Republican county commissioners who I said, you were elected to represent this county. This is voting machines getting decertified. It ultimately cost Mesa County a little over $1.5 million for all of the things that happened as a result of this case and what she was doing. And we didn't choose to have me just file charges like I normally do. I had Rob present the case to the Mesa County grand jury, and she was indicted in the most conservative county in Colorado by a grand jury of her peers, and she was unanimously convicted by a jury she chose in the most conservative county by a jury of her peers.
Thank you both for your insights and engagement, and especially for standing up when called to do so. And really, on behalf of the league and everybody here, thank you for taking the oath you took when you took office. Thank you for taking that seriously and abiding by it. Truly, thank you. And welcome Beth back up to the stage.
Thank you, Danny. We so appreciate your friendship and your partnership. Now it's our privilege to recognize both honorees formally to present the 2025 Leader of Democracy Awards. In case you haven't figured out why they're being honored, Attorney General Weiser and District Attorney Dan Rubinstein were singled out as this year's Leader of Democracy when they worked together to investigate and prosecute an elected official who unlawfully damaged the voting systems of Mesa County, spread debunked conspiracy theories, and did not fulfill her oath of office. The coordination between the DA's and the AG's offices resulted in a guilty verdict, confirming the integrity and strength of Colorado's election systems. Madam President, may I ask you back to the podium?
All right, this is the good part. This is why I'm just pleased to be the president, because I get to do this. Attorney General Phil Weiser, I'm so pleased to present you with a highly deserved award for your courage and standing up for what's right. This makes me almost cry. You guys are awesome. Your commitment to Colorado's democracy is unwavering and inspiring. Next, boy, it's a pleasure meeting you. I'm so glad that you came all this way. You did so much for us. District Attorney Dan Rubinstein, you took on a difficult and very visible case in your district, your backyard. While that's your job, it took bravery. Something rarely seen amongst elected officials these days. You kept your district safe and your election strong, and the league thanks you.
Before we conclude, a huge thank you again to our speakers, sponsors, and all of you here tonight. First, I would like to call our staff up to the stage, please. Yes, every one of you. These people make it all happen.
Yes, they do. There we go.
his team. So also tonight, a thank you again to Danny Newsom, Representative Junie Joseph, our honorees, Attorney General Phil Weiser and DA Dan Rubinstein, the University of Denver, Kent Theory and Denise O'Leary, the Times family, El Seminario, our media partners. Thank you so much.
In all, I look forward to the issue every time it comes out. Thank you.
The League of Women Voters of Mesa County, Susan Stark, Jennifer Patterson, Cobalt Advocates and Danny Newsom, Ann Sutton, Dr. Barbara Winery, Ann McGeehan, Jeff and Thalia Oster, Colorado Common Cause, Sandra Billings, Katie Brennan, Jana Kennedy, Patricia Cordova, Bobby Heisterkamp, Dr. Shannon Keel, Kathy Long, Barbara Madison, Andrea Mitchell, Victoria Mitchell, Clara O'Connell, Pam Parks, Norma Shettle, Jill Smith, Nancy Ulrich, Southern Glaciers, John Tynes, Thalia and Jeff Oster again, Joy Redstone, Linda Hutchinson, Sterling Harris, Fast Signs of Lakewood, Novu Skin Med Spa, Petals and Pages, and Sweet Bloom Coffee Roasters. That's a lot of gratitude. Thank you, folks. I believe our silent auction is officially closed now. I hope you all had a chance to bid. Katina, can we still do the wine poll?
Oh, yes. Yes.
Is that closed as well?
It is not.
No, the wine poll is still open. This is a great deal, folks. Pay $20, get a bottle of wine. It might be worth $12. It might be worth 50. But no matter what, you're walking out of here with a bottle of wine. Okay. If you were one of the winners of the silent auction, we will be notifying you shortly. Thanks to all who bid. And remember, this evening is not just a celebration, it's a call to action. We hope as you leave here tonight feeling inspired, energized, and ready to continue the work of protecting democracy together, you will spread the word. You will tell your family, your friends, your neighbors. A democracy works best when everyone is engaged. So please join us in our work, and thank you for those who already have. We need to continue the work of protecting democracy together. So thank you for being here tonight, and we'll see you next year.
Yep.